What if Africa could build its own future, resilient and self-sufficient, without relying on outside forces? This isn't just a hypothetical question. It's the core of a powerful movement transforming African economies from the inside out. For decades, the narrative has been about Africa's reliance on global markets, imported goods, and foreign aid. But what if that narrative is changing? What if the key to lasting prosperity and true economic sovereignty lies not in looking outward, but inward? Today, we're exploring how Made in Africa is becoming the blueprint for a new era, fundamentally changing the continent's destiny. You might think Africa's economic fate is forever tied to the whims of global supply chains and commodity prices. Think again. A quiet but powerful revolution is brewing across the continent, empowering nations to take control, localize production, and secure their own futures. This isn't about isolating from the world, but about building a stronger foundation from within. We're going to uncover the stories of bold entrepreneurs, innovative policies, and groundbreaking initiatives that prove self-sufficiency isn't just a distant dream, but a rapidly unfolding reality for a truly resilient Africa. It's time to redefine what African economic power looks like. Imagine a continent thriving on its own terms, a continent whose stability isn't shaken by distant conflicts or disruptions. In shipping lanes, a continent built on homegrown innovation and local talent. Join us as we journey into the heart of Africa's self-sufficiency movement. We'll showcase how strategic investments in local manufacturing, agriculture, and technology are not just creating jobs, but are forging a new path towards enduring prosperity. To truly grasp the importance of this shift, we need to understand the challenges of over-reliance. When a country imports most of its essential goods, from food and medicine to machinery and clothing, its economy becomes incredibly vulnerable. We saw this clearly during the recent global pandemic. Borders closed, supply chains snapped, and nations that couldn't produce their own basic necessities faced immense struggles. Prices for imported goods skyrocketed, and shortages became a grim reality for many. This wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a wake-up call. It highlighted a fundamental fragility, where a crisis thousands of miles away could threaten the well-being of millions of people in Africa. This vulnerability extends beyond health crises. Economic downturns in other parts of the world can lead to reduced demand for African raw materials, causing commodity prices to crash and crippling economies that depend on these exports. Political instability elsewhere can disrupt trade routes, leaving shelves empty. By relying so heavily on others, nations effectively hand over a degree of control over their own economic stability. The Made in Africa movement is a direct response to this. It's a strategic decision to reclaim that control, to build economies that are robust, adaptable, and primarily serve the needs of their own people. It is about creating a buffer against external shocks and building a future on a foundation of self-reliance. So what does this localization look like in practice? Let's start with the most fundamental sector, agriculture. Africa has about 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, yet the continent spends billions of dollars each year importing food. This is the great paradox, but it's a paradox that innovators are solving right now. In Nigeria, for example, government policies and private sector investments have spurred a revolution in local rice production. For years, Nigeria was one of the world's largest importers of rice. Today, thanks to support for local farmers, access to better seeds, and the establishment of local milling facilities, the country is nearing self-sufficiency. This hasn't just saved billions in foreign exchange. It has created millions of jobs across the value chain, from the farm to the processing plant to the market stall. It's empowering rural communities and ensuring food security. We see similar stories across the continent. In Kenya, agritech startups are using mobile technology to provide smallholder farmers with vital information on weather patterns, market prices, and best farming practices, dramatically increasing their yields. In Ghana, a push towards local poultry farming is reducing reliance on imported frozen chicken, boosting local businesses and providing fresher, healthier options for consumers. This is about more than just growing food. It's about building entire ecosystems. It's about processing, packaging, and distributing that food within Africa, capturing more value and creating more wealth on the continent. Now, let's talk about manufacturing. For a long time, the dominant model was for Africa to export raw materials like cotton, cocoa, or crude oil, only to import back finished products like clothes, chocolate, and fuel at a much higher price. This model drains wealth from the continent. The shift towards local manufacturing is about reversing this flow. It's about adding value right here at home. Look at the automotive industry. Countries like Rwanda, Ghana, and Nigeria are making headlines with the establishment of vehicle assembly plants. Brands like Volkswagen, Toyota, and Nissan are partnering with local companies to assemble cars on African soil. This does more than just make new cars more accessible. It creates high-skilled jobs for engineers and technicians. It stimulates the growth of a local supply chain for components, from seats and batteries to glass and tires. And it fosters a culture of industrial innovation. We're seeing the rise of proudly African car brands, designed and built for local conditions, proving that the continent can be a hub for advanced manufacturing. The same transformation is happening in textiles and fashion. Ethiopia has become a major hub for garment manufacturing, attracting international brands while also nurturing its own vibrant design scene. Instead of just exporting raw cotton, the country is now turning it into finished apparel, creating thousands of jobs, especially for women. Designers across Africa are gaining global recognition, celebrating local textiles and patterns, and building fashion brands that are authentically African and globally desired. This is made in Africa not just as a label of origin, but as a mark of quality, creativity, and cultural pride. Of course, this revolution isn't just about agriculture and factories. It's being powered by technology and innovation. Africa has one of the youngest and fastest growing populations in the world, and its youth are harnessing technology to solve local problems. The continent's tech hubs, from Nairobi's Silicon Savannah to Lagos's Yabacon Valley, are buzzing with energy. One of the most powerful examples is the rise of fintech. Companies like M-Pesa in Kenya revolutionized mobile money, allowing millions of people without traditional bank accounts to transfer money, pay bills, and access financial services using their phones. This wasn't an idea imported from Silicon Valley. It was a homegrown solution to a local challenge. Today, African fintech companies are leaders in digital payments, micro-lending, and insurtech, creating inclusive financial systems that are driving economic growth from the ground up. This spirit of innovation extends to healthcare. During the pandemic, the urgent need for medical supplies sparked incredible ingenuity. Startups and university labs across the continent began 3D printing face shields and ventilator parts. In Senegal, a research institute developed a rapid, low-cost COVID-19 test kit. These weren't just temporary fixes. They were proof of concept. They demonstrated that Africa has the scientific and technical capacity to develop its own healthcare solutions. Now there's a concerted push to build local pharmaceutical manufacturing capabilities, reducing reliance on imported medicines and ensuring that the continent is better prepared for future health crises. This is about health sovereignty, and it's a critical piece of the self-sufficiency puzzle. Now, building self-sufficient economies is not without its challenges. There are significant hurdles to overcome. Infrastructure, particularly reliable electricity and efficient transportation networks, remains a major issue in many regions. Access to capital can be difficult for small and medium-sized enterprises, the very businesses that are the backbone of local economies, and navigating bureaucracy and trade policies can be complex. But what's exciting is that these challenges are being addressed with the same spirit of innovation to tackle the energy deficit. There's a massive push towards renewable energy. Africa is harnessing its abundant solar, wind, and geothermal resources to power its growth. Off-grid solar solutions are bringing electricity to rural communities for the first time, unlocking new economic opportunities. To improve logistics, investments are being made in roads, ports, and railways. The African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA, is a game-changing initiative aimed at breaking down trade barriers between African countries. This is crucial. By creating a single market of over 1 billion people, the AfCFTA makes it easier for a business in Kenya to sell its products in Nigeria, or for a manufacturer in South Africa to source components from Egypt. It encourages intra-African trade, making the vision of a self-reliant continent a more tangible reality. This movement is ultimately about people. It's about the entrepreneur who starts a small food processing unit in their community. It's about the young coder who develops an app to help farmers. It is about the factory worker who is proud to be building products that will be used by their fellow citizens. This is a story of empowerment, of taking charge of one's own destiny. It's about building economies that are not just bigger, but also more equitable and more resilient. The Made in Africa revolution is more than an economic strategy. It's a new mindset. It's a declaration of confidence in the continent's own talent, resources, and ingenuity. The journey is long and the work is hard, but the direction is clear. By focusing on localizing production, fostering innovation, and strengthening trade within the continent, Africa is not just preparing for the future. It is actively building a more prosperous, independent, and self-sufficient one. The silent revolution is getting louder every day, and the world is starting to take notice. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. Remember to buy my book Africa on Sale, The Diaspora's Ownership Playbook, for more insights on how to invest in Africa. If you found this story of African resilience and innovation inspiring, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content that challenges narratives and explores the forces shaping our world. What part of the Made in Africa movement excites you the most? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.